Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 310. Before we even bother jumping into the show tonight, I'd like to give a special shout out to Maria Farmer, who just got done with her last radiation treatment today. So as you can expect, Maria is pretty pumped and she is overjoyed with the outpouring of support by everybody that follows the case. So before we jumped into our article, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that in case you don't have Twitter or follow her on there or whatever it may be. But the last session of radiation was today. Maria got to ring the bell and she moves on to the next part of her battle. But I think it's a good day and definitely something that we should celebrate with Maria, because I know from personal experience that the day you get to ring that bell or your loved one gets to ring that bell is one of the greatest days going. So I just wanted to take a minute to give a shout out to our good friend Maria and wish her well as she continues her battle. Now, for our article. We're going to talk about the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family tonight and some more revelations from Ian Halperin's book. This article is from mercurynews.com. The headline, Prince Andrew needed Jeffrey Epstein's supply of women to feel special, new book says. This article was authored by Martha Ross. A lurid new book claims to offer a portrait of Prince Andrew, aka the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, his decade-long friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, including details about how the British royal allegedly was a sex addict and a daring lover who relied on the late billionaire pedophile to procure women for him, Page 6 is reporting. So let me get this straight, okay? Let me see if I understand clearly what's going on here. You mean to tell me the Prince of England needs a man who shuffles around the city of New York in his sweatpants and monogrammed slippers to get laid? That's what you're trying to tell me. That's the picture? That's what the relationship was based on? Imagine being that big of a doofus, that big of a dork, that you were the Prince of England and you were relying on some bumbling buffoon in America to get you laid? I don't know, bro, but me personally, I don't even understand how that could even be possible, honestly. There is obviously a lot more with Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew than Jeffrey Epstein just getting him laid, okay? Now, I'm sure that was part of it. That was a big part of the draw for Andrew. Because Prince of England or not, when your buddy's, offering you up this bevy of a human flesh buffet, you know you're going to take it, especially somebody like Andrew. So, while I'm sure that was one of the perks of the relationship, I don't know if that was the whole entire basis of it. I think it's a lot deeper than that. And I think that one of the main parts of the Jeffrey Epstein and the Joe Exotic relationship, from Jeffrey Epstein's side anyway, was the credibility that he thought his relationship with Andrew would bring him. The author, Canadian journalist Ian Halperin, also said that Andrew's constant need for sexual conquests may have stemmed from a sense of inadequacy about being sidelined by Prince Charles in the line of succession. This sounds like a lot of, a bit of saucy, salacious type of information here, right? But Ian Halperin has penned some other books that have gotten some traction, so I'm not going to say that he doesn't have a line on information here. He just might. And maybe Andrew did feel a bit less than because he was sidelined from by Prince Charles in the line of succession. But at the end of the day, he has no one to blame but himself for being sidelined, right? His own behavior has caused all of this. He had the world by the cojones. Imagine being the Prince of England, folks. I don't care if you're the 5th son, the 9th son. You are a prince of the blood. That means you can use your life for incredible good and to make actual, tangible changes within society. But instead, this rat bastard who was born in purple decided to use that incredible winning of the genetic lottery to be involved and to cavort and to provide cover and to enable Jeffrey Epstein instead. He has nobody to blame but himself. One of Andrew's ex-lovers said he had a sex addiction because he was always second to Prince Charles, Halperin said in an interview with Page Six. He compared his relationship with his brother to William and Harry. William is looked at as royal material just like Charles, whereas he and Harry were the bad boys. This led to his playboy lifestyle. He wasn't getting attention. It made him feel special to get these beautiful women in his bed. And while that may be the case, again, I don't think he needed Jeffrey Epstein for that. Now, Jeffrey Epstein might have made it easier, right? Might have made it a little bit less of a hassle for old Joe Exotic of the Windsor family to, find a girl to come over or whatever may have you. But I think that the sex addiction portion for him feeling secondary, again, I'm not a psychologist, but I didn't even know something like that could occur, right? You have a sex addiction because you don't feel like you're adequate compared to your brother. Wouldn't that, I guess I could see it because I know people could, end up with drug addictions from that and stuff. And again, I'm not a psychologist. I don't pretend to be one. I'm just talking about my own opinion here and from where I'm sitting. But I don't see how sex addiction is how you deal with the fact that your brother is going to be the king. It just doesn't make any sense to me, but here we are. For the book, Sex, Lies, and Dirty Money by the World's Powerful Elite, Halperin said he spoke with at least a dozen of the 60-year-old Duke of York's former lovers. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with the Duke of York being a playboy, right? If that's what he wants to do with his time, that's totally fine. As long as he's spending his time with consenting adults and women that aren't being trafficked or girls that are underage, then nobody should have a problem with what he's doing. I certainly wouldn't be saying one word about the guy if he was just a playboy. Hell, playboys, princes, money, that all goes together, right? There's nothing wrong with, dating multiple women or multiple men if you're a rich woman and you're not married or anything. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Whatever happens in the bedroom between consenting adults is not mine, nor is it your business. So if Prince Andrew wants to have a whole harem of women that want to spend time with him, then that's cool with me. What is not cool with me, however, is him cavorting with Jeffrey Epstein, hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, and having Jeffrey Epstein procure him with women when we all know that Jeffrey Epstein is a sex trafficker. So, how many women that Jeffrey Epstein supplied to Andrew, how many of them were caught up in a trafficking ring? I don't have that answer. That's just a question. But it would make sense that if Epstein was providing him with all of these women all the time, even if they're of age, that some of them were part of this trafficking ring. There is no doubt that Epstein provided girls to Andrew, and that was the reason they were friends, Halperin said, adding that Queen Elizabeth II, reportedly favorite son, had an obsession with redheads. Epstein would have his scouts combing the streets for the most beautiful redheads. For Andrew, Halperin said. Notably, Andrew's ex-wife Sarah Ferguson has red hair. We're talking about this guy's out here looking for beauties and you're going to talk about Sarah Ferguson? And I'm not talking about her looks because that's not for me to judge. I'm talking about her character. Sarah Ferguson is a professional grifter and somebody that should not be taken seriously or given any sort of platform at this point. She was involved with Epstein. She took a loan from Epstein. Was that money from ill-gotten gains? If so, why isn't she caught up in this case as well? Most women painted Andrew as a perfect gent and said it was consensual, Halperin told Page Six. One woman said he was a very daring lover. There were no limits to where he would go in bed, she told me. Andrew rocked my world in my bedroom. But she felt disappointed because after that, she didn't hear from him again. Well, again, that might be the case. And if it's all consensual, cool. Good for you, bro. Have a great time. I hope you're sowing your royal seeds and you're having a fantastic time as long as it's all consensual. But I have a hard time believing that every single girl that was provided to him by one of the world's most notorious sex traffickers was not someone who was being currently trafficked or been trafficked by Epstein at some point. We'll have to see all of the names, right, of all of these girls, and we'll have to get a full accounting if we ever get to that point. But look, it's going to take a lot of evidence to prove to me that none of these girls were trafficked. The idea that Andrew relied on Epstein, as well as their mutual friend Ghislaine Maxwell, to introduce him to women has been alleged in numerous reports and court documents. Sure, part of the relationship, no doubt about it. Jeffrey Epstein had access to all of these young girls, and Prince Andrew was running around his whole life like he had a priapism. So it was a match made in heaven, no doubt about it. Epstein was arrested in July 2019 on sex trafficking charges after previously pleading guilty in 2008 to procuring a person under 18 for prostitution. The financier, pedophile, died by suicide in a Manhattan jail in August of 2019, allegedly. Nearly a year later, Maxwell was arrested on charges of being Epstein's accomplice in his sex trafficking operation. And yeah, that's pretty much accurate account, right? Definitely an accomplice, definitely a co-conspirator, certainly not a victim like she tried to make herself out to Juan Alessi, Jeffrey Epstein's old butler, like they were talking about on the Broken podcast. I'm not gonna suck that narrative down, that Ghislaine Maxwell was some sort of victim trapped in her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Please, that's a bunch of bullshit, okay? One of the sex partners Epstein allegedly procured for Andrew has said in court documents and interviews that she was one of the financiers, pedophiles, underage survivors. Andrew is accused of having sex with Virginia Roberts, a then 17-year-old who Epstein and Maxwell allegedly introduced to Andrew in London, March of 2001. Andrew also is accused of having sex with Roberts at Epstein's Manhattan mansion and during an orgy on Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a 2019 Channel 4 documentary reported. And we know all of those allegations. We know all of the people that have come forward so far to say they saw him in these places. And once these flight logs from Vasosky comes out, it's going to be a wrap for all of these people and their social distancing, folks. All of these idiots who were like, check flight logs, I wasn't there. Yeah, well, maybe they get caught up on those flight logs. And what happens is when they're all talked to under oath, any of these lies that they speak on under oath can come back and smack them right in the face with a perjury charge. Just look at Ghislaine Maxwell. So all of these people that are speaking to investigators right now are in dangerous positions themselves. Andrew has denied he had sex with Roberts and told the BBC in a 2019 interview that he can't remember ever meeting her, despite being photographed with her and Maxwell at Maxwell's London home. Not only that, okay, people have put them together, said several different places. Adam Perry Lang was on the plane, wasn't he? So if Prince Andrew, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, is lying about this, what else is he lying about? If you were telling the truth and you had nothing to hide, you would not be lying about anything. But he is. In the BBC interview, Andrew acknowledged that he enjoyed some seriously beneficial outcomes from his friendship with Epstein, saying the man introducing him to rich and powerful people who could aid his career as a UK trade envoy after he left the Navy. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that if Prince Andrew's people called any one of these people that Epstein supposedly introduced him to, that he wouldn't get a face-to-face? He needed he needed Jeffrey Epstein to vouch for him? What is this, the mafia? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. All Prince Andrew would have had to do is pick up the phone and he would have access to any single person he wanted to. And that's not talking out of the side of my neck either. Any person pretty much that he wanted to, he could get access to, including the president probably. So when he says that he needed Epstein to introduce him to people, that can only mean women in my opinion. Epstein was known to cultivate friendships with President Donald Trump, former President Bill Clinton, and other leaders in politics, business, and academia. Epstein apparently saw Andrew as his ultimate trophy among his collection of important friends. Socialite lady Victoria Hervey said in the Channel 4 documentary, The Prince and the Pedophile. Look, I don't know about all of that as far as trophy friends. I don't think Jeffrey Epstein was really cared about that, right? As far as trophy, the way you or I would think. When they say trophy, in my opinion, that means somebody that can advance his position in so-called polite society. And if that's the term you're using for trophy, then for sure. But Jeffrey Epstein had some really, really, really big-time people on the hook. Andrew's career as a working member of the British royal family ended after the BBC interview, where he offered no regrets for his friendship with Epstein, failed to offer sympathy to Epstein's alleged survivors, and offered up bizarre explanations for why he couldn't have met or slept with Roberts. Halperin said his interviews didn't uncover any evidence that Andrew had sex with underage women, but he said Andrew began to fear Epstein. Epstein got information on people, and he'd use it against them, Halperin said. Yeah, no shit. There's no doubt in my mind that Epstein had a dossier on Andrew. While Andrew might have thought Jeffrey Epstein was his friend, he certainly wasn't. Prince Andrew was just another targeted asset by Jeffrey Epstein to help cultivate information and to bring information to Jeffrey Epstein's handlers. Andrew begged Epstein to not reveal anything about him when they last met in 2010. Halperin said, if Epstein had a prince on his knees, imagine the power he had over others, Halperin said. And look, I get it. Prince Andrew's a pretty powerful guy, but I think the influence exerted over people like Bill Clinton, Jess Staley, Glenn Dubin, Les Wexner are all way more dangerous than Andrew. Because Andrew has the name and the title, but he certainly does not have the deep pockets of these other guys. Andrew told the BBC that he ended his friendship with Epstein in December 2010 because he knew the association had become problematic. He also said that he wanted to give Epstein the bad news in person, which is why he traveled to Manhattan and stayed at his mansion for several days. Well, we all know that you don't fly across the ocean to break up with your pedophile homie, okay? He was there for a different reason. My speculation is to beg that they didn't rat on him. That would be my guess. But when you're under the thumb of somebody like Epstein, you really don't have much wiggle room. You really do not have any sort of defensible position. And that's where Andrew found himself. I took the judgment call because this was serious, and I felt that doing it over the telephone was the chicken's way of doing it. I had to go and see him and to talk to him, Andrew said. No, you didn't. Not at all. You could have just cut your relationship off with him right away and went directly to the FBI and talked to them. But you couldn't do that, could you, Andrew? Because you were involved. Because the credible allegations against you are so strong. So instead, you turtled up. You shut up unless you were emailing your friend Ghislaine. And you went and hid behind mummy's skirts. Well, you can't hide there anymore either. Because the people of the world and the people of England have had enough. Halperin's revelation about Andrew will be published Thursday and are part of a 6-volume series of books that delves into the shadowy lives of a number of world figures. Halperin has previously penned books about the Kardashian family, Michael Jackson, and Kurt Cobain. So Halperin has definitely penned some books about some serious people. Obviously, we have to be skeptical of everything we hear in salacious stories like this. But it does give you an idea of Andrew and Epstein's relationship as far as the girls go and as far as what Andrew was looking for from Epstein. It had nothing to do with introducing him to people for business. And it had everything to do with the fact that Prince Andrew is a deviant. If you'd like to contact me, you could do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. All right, everybody, I will be back tomorrow. I hope all of you have a great evening.